If you live in Mount Pleasant, boy, does this fit. If you live in West Ashley, it fits too. And if you live anywhere in the Low Country, it fits, particularly Goose Creek. We had a mayor's race a few months ago. Jerry Tekac, the councilman, running against the incumbent mayor of like 196 years, Mayor Heitzler.
Hey, my buddy!
Right, whom I'm on record for. And I don't do this a lot with politicians. You may seem like I do this. I don't like him. I just don't. But I promised Jerry if he'd come on today and talk to us about this in advance of the council meeting where they're going to discuss this tax hike that's proposed in Goose Creek, that I wouldn't make this an I told you so moment. We wouldn't go back and talk about where the mayor called him a liar for asserting that we would have to raise taxes to meet the needs. And we'll talk about solutions. So I'm going to honor what I promised Jerry. Jerry, welcome. Thank you for calling in this morning and joining us on the program.
Good to talk to you, Brian. How are you?
I'm great. I always love your phone, whatever kind of phone you've got. It sounds like it's got good processing on it. Must be an expensive phone. So, tax increase for the city of Goose Creek for the residents. Mayor says first time in 30-ish years, so not a big deal. It's only $20 an average house. The reason for it is we got to have the money to pay the salaries for the firefighters and the EMTs, or else we're going to have to cut people off the payroll, which is reducing services for the people. Any way we can avoid this tax increase and do something in the plan that would keep the tax bills the same and still fund what's needed for Goose Creek?
Well, Brian, unfortunately, where we are, that's not possible. When you run a budget like we run a budget where there is really no excess funds left over, we're pretty efficient in how we manage our money. But when you add 12 new firefighters, and when you're going to add a debt payment of about $700,000 to pay for 2 new fire stations, you have to find the money somewhere.
So Jerry Tekac, he's councilman of Goose Creek and had run against Mayor Heitzler. This sounds to me like we ought to double down on the conversation of there's got to be some. Okay. So we got to do the tax increase. It is what it is, but it needs to be brought out and understood that this is going to continue happening if we don't, Jerry, do what? We got to bring business. We got to spend less. What do we do?
Well, you hit it on the first point. If we don't become more active in trying to market our city to the business community, we're going to face this issue down the road again. Mm-hmm. And I would like to also point out that this increase that's going to happen next year of 5 mills, the budget also calls for another increase in 2016 of 5 mills.
So it'd be 2 tax increases for Goose Creek, same as in Mount Pleasant where they did one. Everybody said, ho-hum. I said, guys, wake up around the Low Country. Look what just happened in Mount Pleasant. Nobody screamed about it. Mayor even said, let me explain. And I said, all right, it's not your fault, Mayor Page. You just got elected. Somebody else's fault in the past. But here we are. Now there's another tax increase proposed. And people have got to wake up and realize taxes shouldn't increase if the economics of the city are being run correctly. What should increase is the amount of money from businesses paying business license fees. And what should be increasing is the value of homes because of the economy of the city. That should produce more taxes to pay for what's needed in the city. That's not really happening in Goose Creek. It seems like it's sort of been eating away. So what do we do? Buy 10 acres, bring in a bunch of big box retails, plow down the field? That's going to make some people upset. What kind of businesses do we do that keeps the family-driven community of Goose Creek together, but also provides the type of thing that Goose Creek would find accepting and as a nice compromise? What does the city do? Who do they try to attract, or what do they try to attract?
Well, I'll go back to your first point. If we didn't have to, and we have to build this fire station, and we have to hire these firefighters, our residents would not be seeing a tax increase. I mean, when our budget shortfall is going to be about $1.5 million next year, and so, and you factor the fact that the firefighters are about half of that amount of money, and the debt payment is pretty close to the rest of it. We could continue to operate if we didn't have to provide these services, which we have to do. Now, I believe what we need to do is we have an area, as we talked, and I spoke many times about in Carnes Crossroads, where we're going to have a lot of commercial coming to that area. Mm-hmm. We have the hospital coming and all those ancillary businesses that will be associated with Roper Hospital when they decide to break ground. That's where our focus needs to be. We're going to compete against Nexton. which is right next door to us. We're competing against all the other areas of the Low Country with new industry and new business wanting to come in.
But the thing is, Jerry Tekac, councilman of Goose Creek, Nexton is going to, it's not in Goose Creek, but Nexton is so close, all those thousands of people are going to end up spilling in some part or parcel into Goose Creek, putting a strain on the city. So that creates even more of a drag that could accelerate taxes over time if you guys don't come up with some solutions that are inside the city limits that are paying big tax bills, right?
I can't argue with that point.
Yeah, I know you'd like to, and I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm not trying to put the blame on you, and I don't really want to put the blame on anybody. I'm on record. I don't like the mayor because I don't think he gets it, but we won't get into that.
Well, and to the mayor's point, he does get it. I think he does get it.
Okay. Well, he did. I mean, it doesn't seem he got it over the years, but maybe he gets it now. Maybe maybe we can we agree on that? He gets it. He's getting it apparently right now. That we got to do something. Maybe that's good news?
Well, I believe that the vision that Mike has is that he would like to keep our city a very small suburb where growth is minimal, and then you wouldn't have to build new fire stations. You wouldn't have to do other things. Unfortunately, our city is growing.
Well, Jerry, let me seize on that because I live in Mount Pleasant, and I have been called names I can't recite on the air for the standpoint of saying to people in Mount Pleasant around me, my neighbors, politely as I can, get over it. We're growing. There's no way to stop it, and if you don't embrace it, we're going to end up destroying this community. Same thing in Goose Creek. Is that wrong? It's not that we don't want to have some management of it. We don't want 20-story buildings being built. I get that, but we got to embrace and come to grips with reality that this growth is going to occur whether we like it or not.
I agree totally with that. And so what we need to do as a city is to make sure that we're out front in managing our growth and looking for opportunities to bring in new businesses that not only benefit our city, but benefit our residents.
What kind of businesses do you see? Offices, medical?
I mean, obviously with the hospital coming, you're going to see medical. That's coming, and it's not coming fast enough for us. I wish Trident and Roper would resolve their differences and make everybody happy in our city.
Well, I tell you, Jerry, that sounds like an awesome plan if it could come together. If you had a whole bunch of medical offices and medical facilities there and you had people living in Goose Creek, the growth would be people who both live in Goose Creek and work at those facilities because it'd be a no-brainer, right? I mean,
and it's going to happen. And, again, I believe the mayor, city council, and city staff are working towards that. And while we would like to get there quicker rather than later, we have to be prepared for that. And, I know I use the analogy all the time during the campaign. I still use it about the Starbucks. A very good friend of mine told me, why don't we have a Starbucks here? Yeah. Why don't we have a Starbucks here? And, and some of the folks in our town made fun of me. Why we don't need a Starbucks.
I stole that. I took some heat for that too. I stole that from you. You said a town of 40,000 people ought to have a Starbucks, and people went, "Really, Brian?" And it's more of a point than it is a specific, But it was a good point, Jerry. And
I like to also point out, we have a new grocery store coming to the city of Goose Creek. It's a Walmart, neighborhood Walmart store. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be a very nice economic, have a nice economic impact to our city. I'm getting comments from our folks saying, we don't need another grocery store. We don't need another grocery store. Yes, we do. If Walmart does their background and they understand the demographics, if they feel a store would benefit Walmart, they're going to come there.
Yeah, and that's going to put that center as a whole, not just Walmart, put between $500,000 and $1 million into the coffers of the city. I'm gonna have to leave it there, but I appreciate you coming on this morning and explaining this to the folks, and we wish you luck with the tax increase, and hopefully you can make it all work.
And Brian, the last thing I would like to say is most of the people that I've spoken to are totally in favor of what we're doing.
Okay.
Because when they recognize that we need these firefighters.
I got you. I appreciate it, Jerry. Thank you today for chiming in. And I don't disagree that a tax increase must happen. I'm just saying that if we had planned accordingly in the past, and we plan from now forward in each of our municipalities, we can avoid these tax increases and let the businesses bear the burden. That's the way a good American